You're listening to Greater Good Radio Hawaii. Please visit us online at greatergoodradio.com. Today's guest is Peter Kay, one of Hawaii's most recognized technology visionaries and the voice behind the Your Computer Minute radio program.
What was Zentech about? What did the company do?
What we did on Zentech is we sold Unix-based PCs running Unix, and for accounting systems primarily, and reservation systems in town. But that company grew fairly reasonably well. We became the largest. There was a brand of Unix that we sold called SCO Unix, which was the first brand of Unix that ran on PCs. We became the largest SCO reseller in the state. Grew to a reasonable size. We had about 6 full-time employees at its peak. And that lasted for about 6 years until 1992. And it was a partnership. It was a three-way equal partnership. And
that's more of a reseller type agreement,
exactly,
then, right?
We're a reseller. We sold hardware.
You didn't develop technology.
We did some development. I did.
Okay.
In fact, I developed some. I developed quite a bit of custom software for the travel industry. I had I had a reservation system for a helicopter tour company on Kauai. I don't know if you remember the company Island Getaways. I don't know if you remember that. Island Getaways. That was a big account of ours. I did all of I wrote their entire automation system from start to finish for Island Getaways. So that was a fun deal. That lasted for 6 years. That ended because I realized it was a partnership, and after 6 years of working, we never got into any kind of big fights like you kind of hear about partners getting into. We never got into big beefs, but I knew that the nature of the way the partnership was structured and the way we didn't have any clear direction or clear leadership, so it was sort of like 3 guys doing whatever they kind of feel like doing with 3 more employees around us. I knew that we weren't going to be able to grow to any significant size, at least what I was aspiring to. So I had a choice: either I was going to fight the whole thing, or honorably get out of it. So I sold out. I said, "Hey guys, God bless you, your company. I'm going to go off and do something else." So the big lesson, there's always lessons, right? So the big lesson of Zentech was not so much don't get involved in a partnership, but there always needs to be clear leadership. There must be clear leadership. If you don't have clear leadership and some sense of the power to have consequences of that leadership, you're really not going to have a company that's cohesive. And that was the end of that lesson.
And then you immediately started the next company.
No, I took a break. I took 2 years off and kind of cruised around. We did a couple of funky things. Did some consulting gigs on the mainland. We actually tried to move to the Big Island. I lived in Puna. I lived in the lava fields of Puna for a while.
Were you trying to find yourself for somewhere?
No, that was at the time when this was 92. In 92, everybody was crying about how expensive homes were. I don't know if you remember that. That was like
now?
What's that?
Kind of like now.
Kind of like now, but except 13 years ago. Everybody was saying, oh my God, $300,000 for a home. There's no way we can afford it. That housing's way too expensive, because the homes used to go for $150,000 not too many years before that, right before the Japanese bubble. So we went to the Big Island in search of affordable housing, and we found it. We found a quarter-acre plot of land for like $25,000, and built a little tiny house for $25,000 on top of that. But then we realized why the housing on the Big Island is so cheap, because there's no jobs. So there's no economy. That's why everything is so cheap. So anyway, long story short, there was a quick kind of a quick aside. And then So this was in 92. So in 94, I was doing some teaching. I was teaching at the Honolulu Community College, and Honolulu Community College actually built one of the first websites anywhere in the world, not just only the first one in Hawaii. They were one of the first websites ever built, and they were one of the top, if not one of definitely the top websites ever back then. And anyway, so it's a great place. I saw the web, and I saw this thing called what was called Mosaic, which was a browser, the first browser, the precursor to IE and to Netscape. And the minute I saw it, I thought, man, this is it. This thing is going to change the whole world upside down. You mean I can click and I could see this document in front of me that's coming from France, and the pictures are from France, and I could click and I could go to New York, and oh my God, this is going to change Hawaii's economy forever. And I was teaching a Unix class, and I had the IT department from Outrigger Hotels taking this class. Now, this was not an internet class, because internet classes did not exist yet. And I was just teaching them about they had just bought a Unix system, so I was teaching them how to administer it, etc. And the class got out early. We finished all the material a little bit early, and I said, "Hey, we got out early. Let me show you guys this new piece of technology that's coming in. It's called the Internet." And I flashed a browser on the screen. I said, "This is a Mosaic browser," and I could click there. And I found one of the first primitive search engines. This was before Yahoo ever existed. And Joe DeRocher was in the class. Joe DeRocher is the Chief Information Officer of Outrigger Hotels. And Joe says, type in hotels. So I type in hotels. This is a true story. I type in hotels. I hit the go button, and nothing comes up. Nothing. There were no hotels online at that time. And so Joe looked at me, and I looked at him, and we knew what we were saying. And he said, hey, we want you to build a website for Outrigger. And that's how it started. And so I went to Joe DeRocher, and because of my previous experience in sales and companies and Zentech, I kind of knew what to do. I put a proposal in front of Outrigger, say, look, I'll build a website for you. It's going to cost you $40,000, and I'm going to need a $20,000 deposit. And they sat on it for a little bit, and they said, okay, you're on. Here's your check for $20,000, and that was the first check I deposited in Cybercom's bank account.
So Cybercom had no other partners except for you.
Exactly, because that was the previous lesson, right? The previous lesson of Zentech was don't get into partnerships, or at least don't get into a place where you can't lead.
Did you do all the programming yourself then?
No, of course not. I had great college students at HCC, Honolulu Community College, that were already trained because they already had built one of the best websites in the world at the time. So they had all the expertise.
So you pretty much packaged the resources that were already there.
I packaged the resources that were already there. And I'm a programmer too, also. So I'm not afraid of it, right? No big deal. But those guys knew how to do it from soup to nuts. And we had an office that was, I think it was 50 square feet. I think it was a 50 square foot office. Yeah, I think it was. Well, here, the office was so small we had it would fit 2 6-foot tables in it and 3 chairs in the middle of it. Should we talk after the break on this one? Okay.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.